Welcome to the PTTS. Today's date is February 8, 2026. My name is Nang Hong Lam. Today PTTS sessions video is on step-by-step PTTS timeline episode 5. But before I go to continue where I left off on the episode, and which is talking about episode 5. Before I do that, I have like two important things that I need to point out. One of them is just the same thing that I already point out. It's what I basically on episode 2 and also the previous episode, on episode 2 I basically point out that I show a scene of the from the movie Urban Legends about how a person died. That character in the movie's name is Damon, and basically like show how he died, and pretty much because he had masturbation. He did masturbation in his life. So also in one of the articles I post up, basically all of this is recapping on what I said on episode 2 and episode 4. So basically episode 2 is I show that scene and I talk about it, the reason I show it, and then on episode 4 I recap what I say, but kind of briefly, kind of like in a way. So basically Damon, like, I post up an article on my PTTS blog, and I said that it's titled Bad Luck with Girlfriends, and basically in that article I wrote that I did some masturbation and by looking at a picture of a woman. So basically I just want, like, basically I say that that's how I'm gonna die, you know, like in the urban legends. So go watch episode 2 again if you missed it and you didn't see how that character Damon died in that episode. So pretty much saying that that's how I'm gonna die because I wrote that article and posted up on my PTTS blog. So I was saying, like, you know, so please, you know, just leave me alone on the women, like the topic that have women. And I felt that it's like, it's not really, like, I don't know, like I've just been bothered by this topic, and I felt maybe it just have some, you know, whatever I'm saying, and no one is listening to it, and no one is paying attention to it, or no one is taking me seriously and things like that. And anyway, like, I'm just saying that it's not happening, you know. So like I felt that what I was stressing and emphasize on, you know, like, please leave me alone on that topic, woman and things like that. And I felt that maybe it's not happening, and maybe people doesn't take me seriously, or people doesn't listen to what I say and things like that. Anyway, I'm really distressed about that, you know. It's like, I mean, I didn't go through all of that just to not be, you know, no one pay attention to what I say, and no one take me seriously and things like that. Anyway, that's the one thing I want to point out. And well, I don't know, maybe the argument is how Damon, like the character Damon in the urban legend, how he died. Maybe that's an act of mercy. Just you get sunk up this low. Like do all of that so that you could point out something and no one paying attentions to it and not taking you seriously. Kind of like in a way, it's just like worse than how like worse than being killed and things like that. It's like so pretty much that's the argument. Maybe how you know maybe someone doing an act of mercy on me and just really like strangle me to death and something that's an act of mercy. Just saying how miserable I am and things like that. Okay, so that's the one thing I want to point out, and basically this would be the third time because on episode 2 I kind of pointed out, and then on episode 4 kind of recapped it. So now on episode 5 I'm pointing it out again, and like I'm saying, I just don't want people to not take me not seriously and also not listening to what I'm saying and things like that. That's why I'm pointing it out for the third time. And okay, so anyway, well, I don't know, maybe like I was saying in episode 2, say maybe if I try harder, if I could go back in time, maybe try harder to meet a girlfriend or have a girlfriend, maybe I could have avoided that situation and things like that. So basically in episode 2 it was just playing like maybe could go back in time, try harder to meet a girlfriend or have a girlfriend. Maybe I could have avoided that kind of situation happening to me. Okay, so pretty much just want to point that out and point also, having that reminder that that's the third time I'm pointing out. So the first time on episode 2, second time's on episode 4, recapping on that, and now I'm pointing out again for the third time on episode 5. Okay, so the second thing I want to point out is a few days ago I uploaded a video which titled it No Feedback on My PTTS Blog for 9 Years and Distress. So pretty much on the description of that video I wrote that it is a very explosive video because I was very stressed out that day, and I and then I got then something happened. I was more stressed out than usual about my situation that day. Basically that's what I wrote, like more stressed out than usual about my situation than usual that day. And then coincidentally I just got really hot and bothered by the time I made that video. It was around the evening time. I just couldn't hold it in anymore. So even though I didn't really say something that kind of like in a way it was just very explosive because it was very upset, kind of like in a way. And also in the description I wrote that I would only post it up kind of like in a way it's on a title that I have no feedback on my PTTS blog for 9 years could argue as no one paying attention to what's going on in my life, no one's listening to what I'm saying, could argue as that. I mean, and like, to avoid that, someone could just leave me a feedback, save me a lot of pain and things like that. I've been saying that so many times that it makes me, it's like I'm hurting myself. It's like, how many times I have to repeat myself, kind of like in a way. So just saying, like, that topic of 9 years, no feedback on my PTTS blog for 9 years, it's just very upsetting to talk about. So pretty much, so I saying that, I'm just gonna post it up. For some at the same time, that day that I uploaded my video, that video, it was, I felt that someone wanted to know what's going on in my life. That's why so I felt like I'm just gonna upload it for a week, and I'm gonna kind of like, in a way, take down that video after a week of time. So it's only for 1 week of time, that explosive video. It's like right now, just the mention of the 9 years of no feed. I'm sorry, really hot and bad about it. It's just like, so I'm gonna take down that video. And so basically, that's the second thing I want to point out. So I'm gonna take down that video after a week of time, and I also wrote it in the description of that video that I'm gonna take it, like, delete it and take it down after a week of time. Okay, so pretty much that's the two things I want to point out. And it just so coincidentally, on that second video, I was pointing out just briefly that the reason I was in a hurry and stressed out was because I spent a lot of time sketching. Usually, like, I didn't really draw as that much. I focused my time on, using Photoshop, doing the editing of the image, or just like drawing like maps and editing. But for the last few days, I was stressed out in her because I was sketching pictures of me and Bastard, because me and Bastard are the two main characters in Bastard Retribution, Paradox Incognito, the story I'm writing right now. So, which I sometimes call it a book that I'm writing, a storybook. So, basically I was just spending some time sketching out some picture of, like how, kind of like again, I don't know, like, just I don't even know how these intel got on me and things like that, and why couldn't they just leave me a feedback? Why they have to do this to me and things like that? So anyway, I don't know, like, I just wanted to draw until I felt that, maybe, I don't know, like, just comfortable enough that I will have those drawing as the book, like the book cover for that story. I don't know, basically that story is just to kind of like could argue as like my last chance of redemptions to why I'm so, like, just in the situation I'm in and have all these problems in my life and things like that. So kind of like, in a way, it's based on true events in my life, but because of having not, kind of like, in a way, there are a lot of, kind of like, in a way, like, in the courthouse, like I don't know about those laws is like in the courthouse, like, and also like what is considered as enough evidences and things like that. So I felt maybe those are the argument, what is considered as enough evidences and what's considered as, the laws in the courthouse, how they like they go the establishment of the laws in the courthouse, the law school and the courthouse and things like that. I didn't go to law school. I didn't have experience as a lawyer talking about problems in a person's life. I don't have those kind of. I didn't go to the law school. I didn't have those kind of experiences. So would so kind of like in a way, even though it is based on true events of my life, but those argument, people could use those arguments as against me. So like I'm saying, you just have to go with, just maybe go to the court, if you really can't stand that story, why I don't have enough of why didn't I go to law school? Why didn't I have experience as a lawyer? Kind of, if you want to make those arguments, then please, just don't read my story and, maybe go to the courthouse or something. It's like, these, I don't know, like, this is the maps as I kind of like draw sketches and I don't know, like I'm saying, if that's the argument you want to make against me, then, just don't read my story and go to the courthouse and you will able to experience that, like people who have experience as a lawyer and people who go to law school. I'm not gonna beat myself up, because I didn't go to law school, because I don't have experience as a lawyer. Just gotta live with my life. That's how my life is. It's like I'm not gonna beat up myself and self-punish myself, self-criticism myself because I didn't go to law school and I didn't have experience as a lawyer and things like that. So please, just I'm already very stressed out about my situation. Please, if you really want to make that arguments against me on not going to law school and not have experience as a lawyer, then please don't read my story and create more problems to my life and things like that. And okay, so basically, I think that is what I wanted to point out. I did point out, but just very briefly in that video, which, like I was saying, that I'm gonna in that explosive video, which I'm gonna have to delete it after a week of time because I was saying it's a very explosive video. Okay, so basically that's the two things I want to point out. So now back to episode 5. So I'm just gonna stop the video and I'm just gonna let myself take a few breaths of air, and then I'm gonna continue after, just have a few breaths of air, and then okay, so I'm gonna end this video in 3, 2, 1.